Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. This week, I was joined by Bertie. Now, Bertie is a fellow creator over in Amesbury, and we were just talking about how our creative processes have changed through the years, but also about the fact that we're not really competitors as such, and more collaborators, which is a wonderful way to think about it, and something that I think is really important for those entering the industry. So if you did enjoy this episode, I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And thank you ever so much for joining me once again. And now I'm going to hand over to Bertie to explain a little bit more about what he does.
Hi, I'm Bertie Coy. I'm the founder of Smash Creative. I also run a daily vlog, Everyday Bertie, and have recently formed a new car show channel called Witch Wagon. What else do you need from me?
How exciting. Welcome to the podcast for the second attempt. We're not going to talk about the first attempt. Everything technically went horribly wrong, but welcome back.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
So for those who don't know, because we met through TBN, but I think the crux, I think a lot of questions are going to be, were you a filmmaker always? Were you always doing this kind of video journey, this video showcasing content creation journey, or have you done other stuff?
Yeah, so I wasn't a video maker, and still to this point, it's more self-taught craft and doing what I like and doing how I fit. As far as actual qualifications side go, I did photography A level at college, but that was a piece filler. I always had this plan of owning my own business and growing things. So I focused more on the sort of business studies, the ICT, media studies to sort of evolve from that side. I enjoyed stuff with a camera, but I didn't necessarily see it as a career. So I focused more heavily on the marketing side of things at first. And that was where I spent a lot of my time growing in the marketing sector, focusing more on that. And it was only after I've done that for a fair few years, had a fair bit of success in that field. But it was only after I had a period of being unwell. I basically stepped away from work for a few years to kind of figure myself out and sort of get in the right space again. And it was as I was there, sort of real in a rough time. I just picked up an old camera and just started playing with it, and it was almost like, it's very similar to now. I've got young kids now, and I've started giving them cameras, and I suppose it was very similar to them that I was starting to take pictures of like floor tiles and flowers around the garden and just really weird shit that I was just there, just like, oh, I'll just tweak with the settings, and I'm like, oh, and I was really enjoying it. And then I got in the process of editing, and that was all whilst I was still taking time. And it then kind of grew from there, that as I was just enjoying it, I started making vlogs and sort of being a bit more there. And I still wasn't sure what career I was going to go back to or etc. And then it kind of just got reached out that a few people were like, we really like your photos, we like the videos you've been making. Could you do it for our business? So I did a fair number of those where it was just like friends and connections from the marketing days who were like, oh, we really like what you're doing. And I suppose after about 6 months of just doing it for leisure, I went, well, actually, why don't I make this a career now? Why don't I?
Yeah, why don't you make a thing?
Yeah, that's it. It was a bit of an odd one because it's photography, videography, etc. A lot of people undervalue it and they see it as a hobby or a leisure activity or etc. like that. And I suppose I was in that realm where I couldn't quite see how you could make a career out of it, or not how I perceived one. But actually, as I've been sort of more going down that route, I've seen that the options are endless. You can do whatever you want. For you take even my short cycle from doing corporate promotional videos here, there, blah blah blah, to doing longer productions, and now I've almost gone full loop. That actually I'm still doing those. They help pay the bills and etc. like that. But then the Witch Wagon project, that's my own project on my own steam that I've kind of gone, well, actually, here's the mission, here's the brief, here's the plan. I'm going to produce it, and almost that is my passion project. It's not monetized yet, it's not etc like that, but it's growing, and eventually, now I've seen how the industry and realm works, I know full well that further down the line it could become its own monetized entity through sponsorship, promotion, etc. So it's not necessarily just the conventional form of work where I'll shoot you a video, you pay me for said video. There are new uh, options out there for the creative industry.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, especially for those, because as you know, when we discussed first time, a lot of the people who listen to the podcast on a regular basis are people starting out in the industry. They want to get started in photography, videography, etc. They want to create films. And, you mentioned the vlog concept, right? The concept of doing a vlog. And, I'll throw back to you in a moment, but I think the vlog concept is an interesting one because it's not one that, from my understanding, existed until the last probably 15 years, something like that, like maybe 10, but really prominently probably 10, but was starting to be played around with maybe 15 years ago. And it's this concept that I still think the majority of the world still hasn't woken up to, right? Of course we know it because we do it, right? But in layman's terms, what is the purpose of a vlog in your eyes? What would you say? Why should a company think, let's do a vlog? That seems like a great plan.
Well, it's the bit with the vlog is it's such a wide thing because vlogs give you that option to be personal. They give you the option to get your side across, be who you are, and do what you want. So you can set that goal and that brief of what you want returned from your vlog. And some people out there do the makeup tutorials, the blah, blah. They know for plain simple, they're showcasing makeup. They're going to aim for product sponsorships, product placement, brand deals, etc. like that. It's a selling tool. Whereas other businesses who are sort of more, they have their craft, they have their day job, might look at doing a vlog to showcase case studies, to showcase who the company really is and what they get up to. From my perspective as a creative, I was doing a daily vlog of showing people the journey from where I was going to what I was doing. And it was almost being a little bit of a behind the scenes / intro to my life of showing how I'm juggling family life, growing a business, and some of the stuff which I get up to with clients and stuff. And it was a nice add-on because clients were always like, we saw the vlog that we were in, and also then they get their product of, well, here's the finished article which I've given for you for your promotional services. But it was also another way for me to spin it and get it out there, because one thing as creatives we often do hit a little bit of a stumbling block on is if you're being paid to produce something for someone, you do that, you deliver it, then how do you market your thing? Because technically that's the bit where I've always struggled is if I've made some killer images and I've made this video to promote a service or product, they might not put it in the pipeline for 3 to 6 months. It might sit there and you're like, well, I really want to showcase this. I really want to shout out that, hey, I've just made this incredible thing. And, so it is notoriously, it's like builders' houses are always falling down and stuff like that. They're never finished. So creatives are very much the same. Our websites, our own social media, or etc. like that is very sparse because we put all our effort and content into our clients. So
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point because I think the misconception could be sometimes, and for example, we do post frequently and we do keep it up to website, but it's a huge amount of work on top of running the business, right? You can do it, yes, it's really hard, but you can do it. And the thing is, I think it's a really important point that you discussed about how does videographers, photographers, etc., how do they market themselves? I mean, for us, this is a tool to market, right? Like anything. But we also have our making of series, which is exactly what you describe. It's showing the behind the scenes on a fly on the wall process of client productions. and we try to show as much as we can, and what, of course, with the client approval and such in that respective. And it's I think I'll add on the point as well that when we say client approval, we don't mean you can completely control the vlog, you can completely change the narrative. It's simply, is there something in this vlog which could hurt your business or your brand? That's it. That's the only conversation that I would personally have, and I would want to make sure that there isn't any if we're going to post. But everyone asks me, oh, how does business owners come across? And I'll hand back to you to discuss your reality in a moment as well. But for me, I always suggest it as like, hey, would you like a free piece of marketing? Because that's basically what it is. Because yes, but we're also showing the product or service in a different light, because we're actually highlighting on what we do. But in that process, I have to highlight what we're filming, who we're filming for, and what they're talking about and how. So by that is that passive kind of, oh, you get introduced to that person or that in business or that product through my vlog perhaps, and then you may want to go and consume, as you say, the content that one would create for that client, that maybe in 6 months, you're right, hopefully less. But it really depends, I think, your role in the campaign as well. Because if you're managing the campaign, then you're going to kind of know a little bit more, and you can really structure your own content around, so they all go live around the same time as well. I mean, from a client point of view, how has clients kind of found you vlogging or creating content around what you're doing for them?
So they all, I would say 99% love it. And then you get the occasional 1% who, they're not, they're nice clients in the way that, they're very structured. You know exactly what you're doing, but you tend to also have to sign declarations to say that you will never use the images that you've created, you will never use the footage you've created, blah, 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 etc. Because a lot of it is the seasonal stuff. So when you're doing fashion shoots or sort of lines that are for specific times, they really want you locked down to make sure it cannot be leaked or go out sooner than planned. And that's rightly so. If sometimes if you're shooting in the middle of summer for something that's coming out in Christmas, they don't want you leaking that, and that you've got to be respectful and appreciative of. But in most cases, the business owners see it as, it's like having another video for free because we're paying you to do this, this, and this. And as I said, you do the vlog on your own time. It's your own marketing practice. So, they love the exposure. They love the relevance of it. Most can see value in it. And also it can make your life easier for a perspective with the clients, because a lot of my clients have actually come from seeing the vlogs rather than finished articles of work elsewhere. And then what it comes to realize is that actually they want the vlog. They don't want they don't necessarily want a high polished finished article because they themselves don't feel comfortable producing it. And what I mean by that is I've had many a times where people have said, oh, I'll need a video for this and either. You set it all up, it gets scripted, they sit in front of the camera, and you get 5 minutes worth of bloopers, stammers, and splutters. You pick the camera up off the tripod and you say, let's go for a walk around town. And whilst you're walking around town, you're holding the camera and you just start asking them questions, talking naturally, getting them to show you about. You can get so much better footage, so much raw emotion, and the client isn't freaking out because they're sat with lights and a camera pointing out at them. It's a much more organic feel, and it does work well with businesses and people who aren't necessarily so open to having a camera in their face.
It's always an interesting point, because there's this for a lot of video creators, this will be sound like a broken record, but for anyone who doesn't know, there's this concept where you can have a really confident person, but the second you put a camera in front of them, they just crumble. It's the oddest thing I've ever seen for a long time. And I think it's important to mention, because one of the things which I think is the power of video and why it's so valuable. Yes, you get some great content. Yes, you get to articulate your message. Yes, you can turn it into 3 bits of content at the same time, etc. All of those things you can do. But I think the crux of it, and the main thing for us anyway, is actually we help our clients become more confident. Because if you're confident on camera, you're never going to be intimidated by, oh my god, I was at networking this morning, and we were talking about sales, or we were talking about like when you come across and you have to sort of pitch what you do, right? And some of the guys at the network were really, really nervous because they had to give a presentation, right? Like some of them had to give a presentation, which is quite normal in networking groups. But what I said was to them as an advice from someone who's done presentations, and I'm sure I'll throw back to you in a second, but because I know you have as well. But I think it's one of those things where if you come across as if it's a sales pitch, it won't do as well. And I think it's about understanding that you can enjoy it as well. I think that's the key thing, and I think it's about finding a way to talk about what you do in a comfortable environment, or put people in the right place so they are in comfortable environment. So build that rapport with your client, build that understanding with their client before you even think about a shoot day. Get to the point where they're really, really comfortable with you and they trust you, because then when it comes to a shoot day, it's going to make your life a lot easier. But it's the same whenever you do anything. I think, if you're going to benefit from anything, you need to push yourself outside your comfort zone, and I think it's really important to make sure that you do that kind of frequently. I mean, how did you find giving, or do you find giving a presentation? Because I think it's a sticking point that's quite similar to video.
Yeah, I enjoy giving presentations. Before pandemic, not so much, because that was standing up in front of people, real world, loads of people staring at you, etc. like that. And that I wasn't overly comfortable with. I don't suppose I'm still am comfortable with large groups of people in one place. I don't know why. And it comes back to very much the same. When I first picked the camera up, for a long time, I would be the other side of it, taking pictures and videos of people. And when I first flipped it round over onto me, it was chaos. It was pure panic, deer in the headlights. But keep doing it. And I've built a callus that now I can literally just flip a camera around on myself, speak openly and normally. I've got no problem with that. So giving presentations in real world environments, probably still shit chickens. But now that the whole world's gone a bit Zoom and we can be all sort of new options, that I am much better for, because it's day in, day out. You can produce a great video, you can hit play, and you can get across what you need to, what you want to. It's sorted, it's good. And for me, I would say it's given a lot more clients and myself opportunity to really get out there, since networking and stuff has gone more online, because you can really showcase your craft. Beforehand, it was a real struggle. You go to networking events and you'd explain that you're a content creator, blah, blah, blah. And people would just kind of go, oh, that's nice. And they wouldn't really see how it could affect or impact their business. They were there for the conventional forms. But it's now, when you can click play and you can blow their mind in a few minutes worth of thing, they can start spinning there, kind of going, oh, if I did this for my business, or if this worked for mine, how they could instantly start seeing how it would apply to their business. And I think that's one thing which has worked out well.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think it's this, I always call it, and I always say to people, if you're looking to do presentations, especially in person as they start to come back, start doing some ones on Zoom. Because doing them on Zoom is less intimidating, as you say, because you can look directly into camera, you can kind of just see yourself if you want to, so you don't have to see the other 100 boxes or 12 boxes or 15 boxes or 25 boxes or whatever it may be that you're giving your presentation to. And I think it's a really important point, because especially as video creators, I think sometimes forget how intimidating, but also sometimes technically challenging it can be to actually do that. And especially, I like your use case where it's like, well, you can use that opportunity to showcase what you can do with video. But I also think it's really important to show your personality when you come across in video, because sometimes people think video is, okay, I'm going to start recording. You're going to say 16 lines, and then you're going to stop. and that's it. And I think for me, and the reason, people ask me all the time, and I know you do script some of your content, and there's some content which you definitely should script. But for me, I have detailed notes over scripting, because for me, if you're going to script something, it will always, to an extent, unless you practice really, really a lot, to get it to sound not scripted, in my experience. And that's why I think, and for a lot of clients, we found it's a lot easier for just to get them to talk from what they clearly know a huge amount about, because they make a business out of it, right? So just having a way to actually get that information out on camera, which they feel comfortable, is really important. But then also, ideally, it being lit and sound well as well is also great. But as well, but I really like the fact that you have kind of adapted the status quo, so to speak, in regards to video, because of the status quo is show up with a tripod, press record, then press record again to stop it, and rinse and repeat all day, and then go home and then edit it together. That's the status quo, right? That's what should be done. But I think the reason why I mean this leads on to my next question quite nicely, because for me, phones are getting ridiculously good, right? I mean, does that worry you as a video creator? Does that kind of like, oh, hold on a second?
No, because to be fair, I'll hands up admit, I do a lot with a phone too. It is so easy, it's so convenient, and it is excellent. There are some things where point blank, you can't get away with the phone on this. You're going to have to get. But if you're doing infill pieces, if you're trying to capture something on the fly or etc., you start running through with a full hefty camera through a shopping center, you're going to get weird looks. You do it with the phone in your hand, you can get away with whatever. It makes it more accessible. It's fine, and that's just from my point of view of using the thing. Not to mention the software in them is far better than anything in any of the latest cameras. Realistically, a lot of the phone companies are doing so much with the chips inside to make them that good, that responsive, that sometimes they are actually better than a full-size camera. And from that's from the user point of view. So if you've got a phone, if you don't have the equipment, own it. Some great stuff is achieved from phones. But then the other side of it is, okay, there are a few people who go out and get a new phone, and then they think, I don't need a video creator, I can do it all on my phone. The thing is they don't have the skill or the craft or the attention or the experience to deliver something well. They will conventionally grab the phone, click, film something, end it, post it. They won't do any of the additional bits. There won't be any transitions. There won't be any storytelling in it. That is where I think it comes. So I suppose from my point of view is it gives it a nice definition. If someone's going to pull out their phone and record a little bit of a sort of like 60-second daily, here's what I do, or an update, blah, 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 it's awesome. If they feel that confident to get their phone out and do it, fantastic. Because let's be honest, if they would have phoned me up to come and do that, it would have been travel there, set up stuff, blah, 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 blah. Whereas now you're getting phone calls for the more bits where people realize that they can't do it. They can't film themselves doing this or that. They don't know how the editing software works. They can't tell the story in one bit. And that's then when you come along. And so it's giving you the opportunity to do more tangible things, showcase bigger things, and almost leave the stuff which, as I said, anyone with a phone can do these days to be anyone with a phone. And
I mean, that's the point I was going to make. I think it's important to establish that a phone is a tool, right? Filmmakers and content creators we use phones, right? We do, for multiple reasons, but I think it's interesting to watch the technology grow, because eventually they're going to get to a point where maybe they won't always eclipse, but they'll at least be close to a more professional grade camera, right? But I think the points you make are very, very clear and very, very important to be made, because a lot of, anyone, and I've said this for a very long time, anyone can just start creating content, which is fantastic, can I just add? And it's not me kind of trying to burn people down. Oh, it's great, and you should create content, you should, but you're going to get to a point where you'll find that your content maybe not doing the right thing for you, maybe it's not doing what you want to do, or it simply just takes up huge amounts of your time, right? Because content creation as a concept just is a time-consuming process at all, period, just is. And doing it well just increases the time and the energy and everything that you do in it. And that's why myself and Bertie can make a career from doing it, because it takes skill, it takes talent, it takes understanding, and it takes, the way I look at it is always, can you save that business owner time by you doing it? In that case, if the answer is no, they should do it themselves. If the answer is yes, then you should do it. That's how I look at it, and that's how my approach is. Because we talk to so many of our clients and so many potential clients that say, I've tried doing it on my phone, but I don't like it, or I don't feel comfortable, or etc. And then I always ask them, okay, well, why? Right? Because it's only going to get worse, I'm afraid. Right? If you feel awkward, or you've got to just, as you say, work through that. You've got to push through that. I mean, for me, it's important to make sure that you understand where you are in your journey, right, as well. And I think that's really important. And a lot of what we discussed today is about that journey. But I think everyone, I started on my phone, taking photos on my phone, then I went to a DSLR, took photos the same way I think probably you did, as well as many others have done as well. And I think it's important to establish that everyone is on a journey, right? Bertie's on a journey, and it may not be aligned with where I'm trying to go or what I'm trying to do. And it's the same. It leads on to my next question as well, because normally when I invite another content creator onto the podcast, people always ask me, surely aren't you promoting your competition? Right? Surely there's that elephant in the room kind of thing, right? Because technically, me and Bertie do the same thing from a technological standpoint. In an extent, we do. But I mean, let me throw back to you. I mean, what do you think about competition? Right? How do you deal with it? Do you what do you see? And do you think that it's a bad idea for me to invite my competition onto the podcast? I personally don't. Hence why I do it. But I'd be interested in your thoughts.
No, I don't at all, because every creator is generally unique, as loads of different trades are, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's competition. I would say it's collaboration, and because I know there are some things where I get clients come to me, or I get prospective clients come to me, and I know I'm not suited for them. It wouldn't be the right thing. I pull my hair out trying to shoot it, and then I definitely lose my rag trying to edit it. And then and that's where the collaboration comes in. If you get a client where you go, that's not necessarily my style, but I know someone that it fits right for, that's then where this comes in. And I think that's more of it. Creators have got to stick together. There is more than enough work out there for us all to be doing, for us all to sort of be getting on with. But the thing that we need to bear in mind is we all need to be doing the right work. So if we can collaborate, if we can share things around, if we can make our own lives easier, then that's where we need to be. As long as there's no one out there being greedy and trying to battle the world themselves, if the door for collaboration is wide open, everyone's going to benefit.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things about a win-win situation. I think it's really important to establish your network of other creators as well, because I might get a job in tomorrow that I'm like, I don't have enough people for this. We got a problem here, boys. I've got too much work to do on this campaign, for example, right? And by having a network of skilled creatives that their skill sets, their preferences, even from just a technical standpoint, what they shoot on, right? What cameras they own, etc., is all valuable information, because the network of freelancers I work with and the people who are close to me in regards to the team, we borrow gear from each other all the time, right? I've got this shoot, I don't own a boom, for example, right? It's not something I've bothered to invest in because until very recently we haven't needed one, right? And I still don't technically need to because I just borrow someone else's. And I think it's the concept of understanding that and being okay with that, and being completely fine with the fact that, and I said this at networking, we were talking about sales psychology as well, and it's about being understanding and empathetic with the client you're talking to, or the potential client you're talking to, and saying, look, I don't think we're the right people for you. Here's why. But I'm not, and then not leaving the conversation there, saying, have you thought about talking to such and such? Because I think their style, their ethos, how they work, etc., is really going to suit your business or your brand. But the thing is, you have to go out of your way as a creative, I would say, or in general, to understand that, right? Like, you have to spend the time with those other creatives, not necessarily curating, but actually talk to them about it, understand, seeing their work, understanding what they do, how they do it, and why. So then you know who to refer to, and who to say, oh, you should talk to this person because, right? And it's one of the main things which what jumped to mind was, there's a certain networking group that's very American based. It comes from America. That's very transactional driven. And for me, and I'm not trying to burn it at all, because it works for some people. But for me and my style, and I think Bertie would agree, looking at his style and looking how his approach is, that transactional kind of reward based situation isn't necessarily going to be the right reasons why someone's. It might be in some cases, but in most cases I've found it isn't, because if I have a financial reward to send work to Bertie, for example, over someone else, in most cases I'm going to send work to Bertie, whether it's the right work or not. And I think it's really important to establish, firstly, do you understand what your right work is, right, yourself, but then also the people around you as well. And I think it's something that I misunderstood at the start when I was starting out. Right, I was like, I'm gonna film everything and I'm gonna create everyone's videos and it's gonna be really good. But the reality of the fact is, as you say, to be honest, as the industry grows and grows and grows, there's way too much work potentially to do, either on your business or in the business or for clients, and unfortunately, you're not gonna have enough time. You're just not. So the best result sometimes is actually to forward that work on. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to get into the industry, specifically to start building their network? Because I know I was quite fortunate because I was in a good economy. I was in kind of an open market, really, like city centre of Salisbury. Before I did what I didn't really have much going on, to be honest, from what I could see. It just didn't, for whatever reason. So I kind of had an open market, a good economy, and a lot of drive. So it wasn't hard, it wasn't easy. It was what it was. But I think now it's got a lot harder, it feels like.
Yeah, I would say so. But now the answer to this question really comes down for me at what point in life the person is in. If you're, say, younger generation, still sort of, living with your parents, or are quite comfortable, and you have that ability to spend a longer time without necessarily seeing such a high reward, then I would focus more so at creating content that you want, content that you really want to do, and just be out there every moment, creating, sticking it up on YouTube, getting it on social, really showcasing who you are, what you do, and what you can deliver. That is where I would be spending a lot of time. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who, a little bit later on, have families, they've got mortgages, they've got bills, car payments, utilities to pay. You don't have that luxury to sit there and kind of go, hey, actually, I'm just going to slow burn, really create some great content. And if I have some, payments come in every now and then, I can trickle it through. Sadly, that one is going to take a lot more of a bit of fire, and you're going to have to be more proactive in what you do, because literally you will either have to remain where you are and filter through. So, you might have to keep your 9 to 5 and then do a 5 to 9 on top of it. So you might end up going to other events and shooting those, and then, blah, blah, blah. I've been there at that point where, as I've wanted to grow things and change things and move stuff around, I've done my contractual obligations during the day, get the kids to sleep, and then I'd stay up early hours thinking, oh, what's this next project? That's where I put my passion projects. That's where Witch Wagon started, was I'd do the sort of contractual work during the day, and then I'd focus on my own projects in the evening. And that's part of it. The other side of it, to put a big rocket under it, is don't feel ashamed or don't feel nervous about approaching people. If you've got an idea for a video, or you've got an idea for something, find the person that might want it. If you think there and think, oh, I've really got a great idea for this, and say it's about a new car, just message the dealership. Worst case scenario is they say no. Best case scenario is you might have just got a client there who says, yeah, okay, come borrow the car, shoot us some promo with it, blah, 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 blah. Win. Another one might be life insurance. You can showcase how beneficial life insurance is to someone. If you think of a fun way to get that across in a video, I'm sure there are some life insurance companies out there, individual brokers, who would be happy to showcase their business in a fun, interactive way that doesn't turn people off when they say, I'm in life insurance.
Yeah. Or I'm insurance, or
that's it. Make a nice
I'm in
video
finance,
about it.
or etc.
So that's it. You might sit there, you might send out 10 idea briefs to people, and yeah, 1 or 2 might come back, but you really have to be that proactive if you want it to happen. You can't just sit around kind of going, well, I hope people see blah, 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 blah. That's, as I said, that's a game for people who do have time and resources on their hands and can float through for a bit longer. They can really take the time to hone their craft, find their ideal client, blah, blah, blah. But sadly, if you need to rely on this, you're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and find out what does and doesn't work for you whilst you're working.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to establish the number of volume at the start that you need to do, right? Like I talk here about my early career where I sent literally thousands of emails a week because that's what it required. Was it hard work? Did I hate the idea of writing emails afterwards? Yes, but it is how the backbone of the business got built. The same with creating content that you're passionate about. I love that because it's this main thing, and I still do it to now, right? And I always ask, why did you create? Like for me, it's always about asking, why did you start what you started? And for me, one of the main reasons why I started Brunton Media in the first place was to promote the city I love, which is Salisbury, to the wider audience and the residents of Salisbury and the people who are in and around Salisbury, because I didn't feel it was being promoted enough. So I was like, well, okay, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to step up and do it, right? And that's why I always do these, Salisbury promotional videos, or quite recently just done Christmas Came to Salisbury, etc. Because they're important to me. They're not money driven. They're arguably like actually take money out of the business, arguably, but they are important for me personally, because they're the reason about why. And I think for a lot of people, especially when you're in the grind and you're in the process of find a new client, execute on the work, get paid, find a new client, execute on the brief, get paid, etc. When you're in that rat race, I think it can be sometimes challenging to reconnect with why you did it. And that's why I think having those passion projects like, the YouTube channel you discussed, but, for me, the sort of promotional videos or essentially whatever it is, and for everyone else, it's going to be different. As long as it matters to you and you know why you're doing it, and you understand like core reason why you're doing it, then it doesn't matter. Like you don't need really like anyone else's approval outside of the obvious, but to do it because it's important to you, and it gives you that level of fulfillment. Because people always ask me, oh, can't you work so much, blah 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 blah, you're gonna get burnt out. But the thing is, if you yeah, could I? Yes, of course. In the same way anyone could, right? But if you're doing stuff that you're passionate about and you genuinely care about, you're a lot less likely to actually burn out than you would doing a job which you detest, for example.
Yeah. Burnout is real. That is 100% real. I've gone through it several times, and that can be a mixture of things, overcommitting to slightly wrong projects or troublesome clients or etc. like that. But then occasionally, as Khan just said, you find your ground again. And this was one thing which I went through sort of, not too long ago. I was sort of getting a bit too cabin feverish, stuck in here, spending too long editing and sort of getting stuck in things. And I didn't even see it coming. It was more just sort of happening. And it just slowly built and built and built and built. And I just realized, oh, I'm feeling really groggy, proper sort of just meh. And one thing that lifted it was the fog came, right? And for a little while, I've had new lights, which just might, just bear with me on this one. So I had these new, really cool lights, and I always wanted to mess with them in the fog. And what I did was, as the fog came, I literally just stopped everything, just benched it all. And I went out in the evening, dropped my kids off at their extracurricular activities, and I just drove around with these lights, playing in the fog, playing in the town, just lighting things up and getting nice bits through the fog. And yeah, okay, that could have been work, it could have been etc. I was having a camera in my hand, I was messing with lights, but because it was something I wanted to do, because it was something which I was there like, oh, I was passionate about, it grounded me back down to a point where I was like, oh, that was nice to get out and about and just do something for you, something different. Which then helped out, because then the next day you roll back into the office and you feel all fired up and G'd, ready to go, crack out what you were dragging your heels on, and then you can now align and move forward to the next thing, going, right, done that, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's really important, as I say, firstly to establish what that thing is early on, but also to constantly check in on that thing, whatever that thing may be. And that thing may change. All right. It's okay to change as long as it's okay and it's your thing. As long as you establish it's your thing and this is the thing I'm going to do. And it's not, and a lot of people would say, why are you doing it or how are you doing it? But that actually doesn't matter. As long as it's your thing and you get it and you get why. I think what you'll find is actually as well, after you've had like, you posted the video or you've done the light dancing in the fog or whatever you ended up doing, you'll actually end up doing better work because of it, right? I think from what I found anyway, you'll end up actually being more fired up about the client work you're doing because you'll have that palette cleanser. You'll have that change in perspective that you've had because you've done something else. And if you're and this is a piece of advice I would give to editors or anyone, and I think there's crossover not just in what we do but in general, where if you feel like you're getting stagnant on an edit, or you feel like you're getting stagnant on, I don't know, the approach I want to go, like you've got a decision to make, right? So I could go this way, I could go that way, then go and do another project. Get up at your chair, go on a walk. Go see your family, go eat something, go on a run, go on a walk, whatever it is. Go do something that's not that, and then come back. That might be something simple like watch a YouTube video, or it might be do another project that you also have on, because us creatives always have like 15 projects on for some reason all at the same time. Or do another project, right? And then when you come back, you can watch it with fresh eyes. And you can say, okay, well, actually, which is the best course of action here? Right, which is the way forward, which is the best way forward that I personally think is better, and then check again upon the brief material which you have been given if it was for a client, to make sure that it's also in line with that as well, right? And then if they both align, then you can move forward easier. But it's about sometimes having that comfort break and having that time away from it is actually valuable as well. For some things, for example, I'll edit after I've shot it, directly afterwards, right? Other things I won't, because it simply depends on, do I feel like I know what the edit, if I can see the edit in my head, I'll then execute on the edit. But if I don't, I'll leave it for whatever reason, and I'm conscious of time, so I think let's wrap up soonish. But towards the end of the podcast, I do like to give you an opportunity to ask a question, and you'll be familiar with at this point because we've done this before. And do you have anything? I mean, is there anything you specifically want to ask me, or do you want to throw in a topic before we do wrap up? Everyone always says to me, it's like, this is not a trick question. You can just say, no, thank you. Everyone's like, oh God, what am I going to say? Oh God.
It's a difficult one. Now, for me, I'm going to flip it around and ask you where your drive is. Where do you want to go, and what do you want to achieve with yourself? Obviously, we've covered me that I'm now going into the realm of creating my own projects, and that's where I want to pursue. I basically want to become my own standalone production place where I think of a fun project and I go and execute it.
Yeah.
And so what is your vision for your business?
I mean, the simple answer here is going to sound very egotistical, but for those who know me, I haven't exactly hidden this fact. I mean, for me, I've always wanted to be either one of the biggest or the biggest media agencies in the world, right? Whether I'll hit that is a different conversation, right? And whether I actually get there or not, but that's always been the dream. That's always been what I've wanted to achieve. And for as long as I am career driven, and my priorities don't change, because this is a key thing about priorities, right? Right now, this is my dream, this is my goal, but in 10 years it might be very different, right? Like at the moment I'm very career driven, that's fine, but it's about understanding that. And I think that the principle that can be taken from this, or the learning point, is understand what you want to aim for, and then go and attempt to achieve it, right? If you end up having a goal that's ridiculous, you'll actually be surprised with how much progress. Okay, maybe you don't hit the goal, but that's fine. Don't beat yourself up about that. But then if you set like a goal that's kind of easy, you won't be driven and kicked to actually go and do it. For me, it was always, personal growth and personal development has always been something which I've always wanted in my career, and always something that I thought, I want to live in a world, or live in a day where every day is a challenge. Every day is, right, there's this problem, whether that's production-wise, business-wise, personally, whatever it may be. Okay, I'm going to rise to this and see how I can resolve it, see how I can make it better, see how I can help whoever it is I'm trying to help do whatever they need to do better or more effectively, or just in general, just to be able to achieve it, depending. So yeah, that would be my honest answer at the moment. Again, ask me in 3-4 years, 5 years, 10 years, it might be a very different answer, but hopefully that answered your question.
Perfect. So world domination, mate. World domination.
A little bit less on the domination side, but yes, that's the goal.
I do have one more before
go for it.
And it is going to require a camera in my hand,
which no one will see, but carry on.
Because, as I said to you, I'm back vlogging every day, so I need to document that we recorded this today.
Fantastic. So I'm going to wave to your vlog that only Bertie's fans will see.
Explain to me, Carlton, what are we doing here, and where can it be?
So at the moment, I've invited Bertie on to do the second iteration of the podcast, because the first one went technically horribly wrong, and it can be found over on my YouTube channel that will hopefully be linked in the description down below, and also clips of which will be on my social channels as well. So there we go. And for those who are listening on my end, I'm basically talking into my camera that's then being filmed by Bertie's camera. Is what I understand is currently happening. But there we go.
Next level stuff from Carlton here.
It's funny because I'm actually more used to doing that than people would appreciate initially, because I'm also a vlog creator and as well. But also when we try to multi-purpose use content as well, it can happen a lot as well. So yeah. But thank you ever so much for coming on. Really enjoyed it, and thank you for rearranging after the technical problems that we ran into first time round. Now time for your bit to shine. Where can people find you if they're interested in seeing the vlog, which I'm now apparently going to be part of,
So,
which is news to me, but fantastic, great, hurrah.
so the worky side of things is smashcreative.co.uk, and then you've got the vlog, which is on Everyday Bertie, which from earlier this week was announced that I'm going to restart the daily vlog. It's been about 2 years since I've been running a daily vlog. There was this pandemic-y thing going on, and
I don't know whether anyone's heard about it, but
I just wanted to.
there was this pandemic thing, yeah.
I just wanted to focus on the time with my family and my kids, and didn't really want to get too in that, so I benched it through that period. But now I'm back, sort of, doing a daily vlog. And then the other one is, if you're interested in cars and genuine real world reviews and whether or not they suit parents and lifestyle well, you can catch me over on Which Wagon, which will be dropping a new episode every Thursday.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much for your time, my friend. Appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gents, for coming back and joining me once again. I hope you took value from this episode and enjoyed it. And a big thank you to Bertie for his time, as always. And I'll be back next week with a brand new episode of the podcast with a brand new guest who I don't even know who it's going to be yet at the moment because I'm not in front of my schedule. But thank you ever so much for joining me once again. If you did take value from this episode, I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And I'll see you very, very soon for some brand new exciting content.